Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Sudeep Mondal, Assistant Professor of Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, Jalpaiguri Government Engineering College. Today, we'll take our first tutorial on digital communication. So let's move on. Uh, During this first class or during this presentation, we'll cover these following topics like the basic of digital communication system, advantages, topic to be covered during the whole tutorials, and the sampling theorem, which is fundamental theorem of digital communication, followed by mathematical analysis, and at last we will get some numerical problem that will be based on some real life problem. Okay, so now coming to the digital communication system, basic of digital communication system. You can see this is the block diagram of basic digital communication system. So you can see that first of all, what is digital signal? So obviously, a digital signal can be represented by some sort of digit or sequence of numbers, and obviously, these digits or numbers uh, will be denoted by some kind of electrical voltage during transmission through wire or channels. And in digital communication, obviously, the message that will be transmitted, that should be digital in nature. Okay, that means in either digit or some kind of sequence number or voltage level. So you can see that the in basic building blocks of digital communication system, we get analog. Initially we get the analog inputs. Why? Because in real life all the signal that is generated naturally are in analog in nature. Suppose I'm talking to you right now, that is analog in nature. That means it has we can get the uh, amplitude of each point continuously. That means it is the we get the value. Basically this is the continuous signal. Okay, which is analog in nature. Now to convert to use the digital communication system, we need to convert it in digital format. So before that, we need to convert this analog signal into the discrete signal. That means we need to use the sampling. Obviously the details of sampling will be discussed later. So first of all, we convert the analog input signal into the discrete one. Next, we convert this discrete signal into the digital signal. That means in term of 1001, like this. That is known as the source encoding technique. Okay, and that is followed by different line or channel coding. Now, what is line and channel coding? Basically, whenever we want to transmit the digital signal via channel, so that should be converted into electrical format. That means each one or zero that must be represented by some kind of voltage level. Okay, so for efficient transmission through a channel, or to maintain some kind of properties, we can code the 10 pattern into different with the help of different voltage level, like plus 5 volt, 0, or minus 5 volt, or alternatively plus 5 minus 5, like this. So this is called the line or channel coding. And after that, uh, there should be digital modulation technique. So as you already know, we need to use the modulation for long distance travel, and to reduce the antenna size. Okay, so here we need to use again like different modulation technique, like those are the like ASK, FSK, PSK, and all the details of the digital modulation technique will be discussed later. And after the digital modulation, the signal will be transmitted through channel via some kind of antenna, and during this transmission, obviously some kind of noise can be incorporated in the channel, One of the most important phenomenon of digital communication system is the use of repetitive regenerator, or you can call it simply repeater. Okay, so what is repeater? That means sending, as we are sending the digital signal in term of 1 0, so we can easily detect those voltage level, and we can regenerate those voltage level, and after that we can send again clear a pattern or clear digital signal to the next section or via channel. That means, which is, this phenomenon is not available for analog communication. So this is basically a huge advantage of using digital communication system. Obviously, again I am telling you that details of this repeater, regenerative repeater, will be discussed later. And after that, there should be some kind of, again, antenna, and followed by the demodulation section, and that is followed by the line or channel decoding section. The working principle of line or channel decoding is inverse of the line or channel coding. And after that we need to use the source decoding. That means we need to convert it into the discrete format. After that we need to reconstruct the signal, and ultimately we get the analog output. So this is the working principle, or some principle of different block that we already discussed, like sampling, source encoding, line channel coding, modulation, next channel regenerative repeater, demodulation, line coding, source decoding, and ultimately reconstruction of analog signal. Uh, okay, I hope you understand the basic block diagram of a digital communication system. Now, what are the different advantages of digital communication? So basically, first is the noise and channel distortion are less in digital communication. In case of analog communication system, as the signal is continuous in nature, therefore the effect of noise and distortion are very much. Whereas in case of digital communication system, as the um signal is represented by only 1 0 or minus 1, or plus 5 0 volt or minus 5 volt, and corresponding volt, therefore we need to we can easily detect those voltage level, and therefore that noise and channel distortion are less in case of digital communication. Basically, why? Because if suppose you are transmitting plus 5 volt, so now due to the noise, suppose uh, it is converted into plus 6 volt. So as if it is already decided that one is transmitted by plus 5, so we can easily conclude that plus 6, if there is plus 6 volt, it will be also 1. So like this, we can the detection capability is very easy. Therefore, noise and channel distortion are less in case of digital communication system. Now, next important point, as we already discussed, regenerative repeater. That means we can easily regenerate the sequence after after some interval, uh, uh, that will be transmitted uh, again into the channel. Now, again, next is the digital hardware implementation. It is the hardware that are used in case of digital communication are very easy, flexible, and inexpensive comparative to the analog communication. Whereas because there are some kind of, as they are analog in nature, so design of filter or detection are very complex in case of digital hardware, in case of analog communication. Now, next one is the obviously multiplexing, time division multiplexing, frequency division multiplexing are possible in case of digital communication, and which is not possible in case of analog communication. Next, error detection and correction capability. Uh, we already see that different encoding has been used, like line encoding, channel encoding. So you can see that different coding technique has error detection capability and correction capability, and those are will be discussed in the next tutorial. Okay. What will be the syllabus during this tutorial on digital communication? First of all, first module will cover the sampling theorem, and followed by PAM, pulse amplitude modulation, pulse width modulation, and pulse position modulation. After that, we'll discuss different source encoding technique like PCM, DPCM, DM, ADM, pulse code modulation, differential pulse code modulation, delta modulation, and adaptive delta modulation. And after that, we will discuss different line coding techniques like RZ, NRZ, polar, bipolar, etc., etc., and their different advantage and disadvantage of digital communication. Next, we'll discuss different digital modulation techniques like ASK amplitude shift key, FSK frequency shift key, PSK phase shift key, and QPSK quadrature phase shift key. And after that, if time permit, we'll discuss different channel properties, and we'll touch the information theory also. Now, coming to the our first or basic of digital communication, that is sampling. So obviously, sampling is a process that is used to convert a continuous signal or analog signal into the discrete one. So, in case of analog signal or continuous signal, we need to know the amplitude of the signal at all time instant. Whereas in case of discrete signal, we need to know only the amplitude of the signals at regular interval only, and we call that interval as sampling instance. That means suppose at 1 second or 2 second or 3 second, what will be the value, and those points are known as the sampling instance. So basically, in case of digital communication, where we use first and foremost step is sampling, we're not interested in finding all the amplitudes in the all the time instant, as well as the we are not interested in finding the amplitude in between two successive sampling point. Okay, so now question arises: how will convert a continuous analog signal into the discrete one? So the basic concept is we need to use a chain of impulse train. Sorry, a chain of impulse or train of impulse signal, and that should be the uniformly spaced. Okay, so if we multiply a signal with an impulse train that is uniformly spaced, then we get sampled signal. So now the mathematical analysis behind this sampling and the sampling theorem will be discussed in the next slide. Now the sample. So obviously, after sampling, we convert a continuous signal into the discrete one. Now obviously, we should use such sampling technique or such sampling criteria such that at the end we can reconstruct the signal from the discrete one. So, so sampling theorem is the basis of determining the proper sampling rate for a given signal, at which rate the sampling should be done such that at the end we can again reconstruct the original continuous signal from the discrete one. The Here we use frequently sampling rate. So obviously, what is the sampling rate? Basically, it is nothing but frequency of impulse train. The sampling rate must be large enough that permit analog signal to reconstruct from the sample with sufficient accuracy. Now, what is the range of that sampling rate that will be derived after some mathematical formulation? Basically, why we are so interested in finding this sampling rate? Basically, it plays a huge role in case of signal processing and communication. Okay. Now, coming to the mathematical analysis of sampling theory. So consider a, a continuous signal, continuous analog signal, which is not denoted by GT, and obviously this is a band limited signal. So we can see the time frequency domain of this signal, and which is denoted by GF, and which amplitude is A. You can, if here we give two axes, you can use omega axis and we can use the frequency F axis. Okay, if we use omega, that is mean angular frequency, so obviously the bandwidth uh, bandwidth will be uh, 2 pi b. Whereas if we use the frequency f axis, so obviously the bandwidth will be b hertz. Okay. So as why is called band limited? Basically, after b hertz, the value of gf will be 0. That's why called is band limited. Okay. Next, sampling of gt at rate fs hertz means that we take fs uniform samples per second. Okay. So as you already told, how can we achieve the sampling sampled signal? So we need to use an impulse train. So impulse train is denoted by suppose delta tst. So now if we multiply delta tst with the gt, we can get ultimately sampled signal, where here ts is the time period of the impulse train. Okay, that means unit impulse is repeating at every ts second interval. Okay, now uh, if we denote gt bar, which is multiplication of gt and delta tst, so that will be that will be given by like this. So gt bar will be gt into delta tst. Okay, now from the definition of impulse train, it is from minus infinite to infinite delta t minus nts. That is the property of an impulse. Okay, so again you can see that this is the impulse train, which is a amplitude of 1 and their interval is ts. Okay, now if we multiply both of them, so ultimately what we get like this. Okay, as the amplitude of the delta ts is 1, so ultimately we get a sampled value or the discretized signal at each instant. So here gt bar will be g nts multiplied by delta nts, summation of n equal to minus infinite to infinite g nts equal to delta t nts. So obviously here gt is the continuous, but here as we multiplying them, gt converted into the discretized value. Okay, so this is the obviously time domain representation of the multiplied signal or sampled signal. So now we are interested in finding the frequency domain representation of this gt bar. Okay, so to find out the frequency domain analysis of sampled signal, what we need to do, first of all, we need to express the delta tst in term of Fourier series exponential. We know that delta tst can be expressed like this: 1 by ts n equal to minus infinite to infinite e to the power j n omega st. Okay, now therefore, we can write like this: gt equal to 1 by ts, n equal to minus infinite to infinite, g n ts, and it is substituted by e to the power j n 2 pi fst, where omega is equal to 2 pi fst. Now, from by using frequency shifting property of Fourier transform, we know that gt multiplied by e to the power j 2 pi f0 t equal to g f minus f0. That means this is the shifted version. If gf equal to gf is the Fourier transform of gt, then obviously gt Fourier transform of gt e to the power j 2 pi f0 t will be gf minus f0. What is gf minus f0? That means the spectrum of the gf will be shifted to the f0. Okay, that is the Fourier transform of gt into e to the power j 2 pi f0 t. So ultimately, the Fourier transform of sample signal can be written as gf bar 1 by ts n equal to minus infinite to infinite gf minus nfs. Uh, okay, because for each case the gt gf will be shifted to the fs. Next one is the 2fs, next one is the 3fs. So ultimately gf bar consists of gf scaled by 1 ts, because here we can see that the summation is divided by 1 by ts, and repeating periodically with with period with frequency. sorry, this is a mistake one. With the frequency fs or time period ts, that is the spectrum. GF bar is the replica of GF, repeating replica of GF. Now see that this is the actually frequency domain representation of GF bar, or the Fourier transform of the GF bar. So you can see that this is the original one, GF, but here when we use the GF bar, the amplitude is divided by 1 by Ts. Okay, so basically if earlier we told that the amplitude of GF is A, so obviously in case of GF bar the amplitude will be A by Ts. But whereas the bandwidth will be the same, here you can see that the bandwidth is the B. So you can see if we consider the f axis, so this is the B and this will be the minus B. Okay, this is the band limited. But as we already told, the GF consists of large number of repeating replica of GF in at different sampling instant, like fs, 2fs, 3fs, like this. So we can see that at omega s or fs there is another replica. Similarly, at minus omega s there is another replica. Okay, and obviously this will be the bandwidth again B. Okay, and in case of 2fs there will be another replica, and it will be continue up to infinite. Okay, so we can see that uh, this is basically fs. Sorry, this is basically fs. Now the vital question become, can gt be reconstructed from gt without any loss or distortion? Obviously yes, we need to use a low pass filter. If we can use a low pass filter that has the transfer function like this, or that which has the center frequency 0 and upper sorry, cutoff frequency 2 pi b or b, so obviously we can easily reconstruct. Okay, now suppose fs, now this is the fs. Now fs, if it's less, suppose we are decreasing fs, so obviously this will be shifted gradually into this direction, into leftward direction. And after some time, that means if f is equal to 2b, these 2 points will be touched to one to each another. Okay, will touch each other. Okay, so obviously graph. So again, further, if f is further decrease, so these two spectra will be overlap with each other. So it can clearly observe that if no overlap among the replicas of GF bar occurs, so for perfect recovery, we need to set Fs such that Fs greater than equal to 2b. That means Ts greater than less than equal to 1 by 2b. So thus, as long as Fs is greater than equal to the twice of the signal of bandwidth of GT, that is B hertz, GF will consist of non-overlapping repetition of GF, and we can easily extract GT by using a simple low pass filter which has bandwidth of B hertz. Okay, thus the minimum sampling frequency is 2B. Okay, that is known as the minimum sampling rate. Okay, and this is called as the Nyquist rate, and Ts equal to 1 by 2b, that is called the Nyquist interval. So coming in generalized, Nyquist criteria for effective signal reconstruction from the sample signal can be given as that sampling rate should be greater than equal to the twice of the message signal bandwidth, that is fs greater than equal to 2b. Okay, so this is known as the Nyquist criteria, which is very important in case of digital communication. Now we now consider the GT as the sinusoidal signal. If GT is the sinusoidal signal, we know that Fourier transform of the GT is the impulse one. Okay, so in that case, as the Fourier transform of the sinusoidal signal is the impulse, so obviously in that case, for effective reconstruction, the Nyquist criteria will be changed to Fs greater than 2b, because at Fs equal to 2b, the two impulse will be overlap with each other. So obviously in that case, particular for this case, sinusoidal signal, the Nyquist criteria will be Fs greater than Fs greater than 2b. Okay. Now coming to the some numerical problem. Suppose first problem, a speech signal is band limited to 3 kilohertz. What is the maximum allowable time between sample signals? So obviously band limited to 3 kilohertz. That means FM is 3 kilohertz. Therefore, as per the Nyquist criteria, Fs will be 2b. That means Fs will be 2 into 3 6 kilohertz, and the time interval will be obviously 1 by Fs. That is 1 by 6 into 10 to the power 3. That is nothing but 1.67 millisecond. Okay. Now coming to the second problem, that is a triangular waveform with 10 millisecond time period is to be digitized. So if the waveform fidelity is to be maintained up to 10th harmonics, what should be the sampling frequency? So first of all, what is the given? First of all, it is given as the time period 10 milliseconds. So we can find the f0. Okay, that is 100 hertz basic original basic frequency f0. That means now the 14th harmonics we need to use. For 10th harmonics, the frequency will be fm equal to 10 into f0. That means 10 into 100. That means 1000 hertz. So sampling frequency again, that will be the 2000 hertz as per Nyquist criteria. Now coming to the numerical problem, find out the sampling frequency or Nyquist rate, Nyquist rate for st equal to sine 300 pi t plus sine 600 pi t. So let us consider st equal to m1t plus m2t, where m1t obviously sine 300 pi t and m2t equal to sine 600 pi t. So for m1t, the frequency is 150 hertz, and for so the sampling frequency for the first signal is the 2 into 150, that is 300 hertz. On the other hand, m2t, that means for m2t, that means second signal, the message frequency is the 300 hertz. Obviously the signal sampling frequency is will be the 600 hertz. So as the signal consists of two sinusoidal signals, sine 300 pi t and sine 600 pi t, so we will consider the maximum sampling frequency for effective result. So obviously the answer will be the 600 hertz. I think this is clear. And coming to the last problem, numerical problem 4, find out the sampling frequency Nyquist rate for st sine 100 pi t into sine 200 pi t. So we can express this expression sine 100 pi t into sine 200 pi t equal to like it can be expressed like this, cos 300 pi 2 as per minus cos 100 pi t as per your formula. So again, as per earlier problem, m1t equal to cos 300 pi and m2t will be the cos 100 pi t. So for first signal, the sampling rate will be the 200 into 150 hertz, and second one is the 100 hertz. And so obviously we will consider the higher frequency, that is 300 hertz. So answer will be the 300 hertz. Okay, so these are the references. Thanks. Okay.